Hello viewers, welcome to this lecture on environmental sociology, and today my topic is human encroachment to wild. Is it causing pandemic? This is really a question which is moving in everybody's mind, particularly when World Health Organization states that COVID-19 is just the beginning. There will be more such organisms coming in future. It will actually cause lot of problem, and hence there will be more such organism coming into our life for which we didn't have any idea before. So the topic of today is very apt in the present day context, and the objectives for today's topic are to understand the phenomenon of habitat loss and its impact on organisms, including human, to know the major causes and types of habitat loss, to understand the phenomenon of habitat encroachment and its outcome, because they are not the same. That is, habitat loss and habitat encroachment is not the same. And of course, to understand the different zoonotic diseases, including some of the pandemic ones, their origin, spread and control. So we come to habitat destruction. What is habitat destruction? It is a process by which a natural habitat becomes incapable of supporting its native species, and the organisms that previously inhabited the site are displaced or dead, thereby reducing the biodiversity and species abundance. Habitat loss is also the common synonymous term, and it is also called habitat reduction. The different impact on organisms, if we consider what is the impact of habitat loss on organisms, we will see that the carrying capacity for indigenous plants, animals and other organisms is gradually getting reduced, and ultimately this will lead to extinction. According to recent papers, almost 82% of endangered bird species are significantly threatened by habitat loss, and also almost similar percentage of amphibia are also going down and getting threatened. Particularly, the endemic species or organisms which remain in a definite area in the world are most affected because of their habitat destruction. Like China's giant panda, which was there widely distributed in Sichuan, now is restricted only to a part of southwest Sichuan. At the same time, because some species are getting eroded, the invasive species are frequently coming in and taking their place, and they may not be always good, because some of the wild plants, weed plants will go in and will seriously tell upon the other forest species. Again, some of the insect group like Hymenoptera, which are commonly the plant pollinator, they are highly susceptible to this habitat loss, as a result of which there will be low plant productivity and reduction in crop production. So the influencers are human population growth, increased consumption and reduced resource efficiency, and they will drive the following changes. They will drive habitat loss, that is fragmenting different habitat. They will lead to invasive species. Already I told you, invasion of new species into newer areas. They will lead to over-exploitation of the resources and rapid erosion of these resources. They will also lead to pollution, making it very difficult for the wild flora and fauna to survive. And above everything, because of this, there will be climate change and global warming, there will be rising level of greenhouse gases, and there will be rising of the ocean because of melting of permafrost. So all this will lead to biodiversity loss, world becomes poorer day by day. If we see the different cause and impacts of habitat destruction, we will see that runoff is a major issue. That is, from the internal land, the rivers or streams are carrying all the pollution, all the polluted water, all the sewage into the sea. And this will create a dead zone, as a result of which no single organism will be there. There will be loss of fishes. So obviously, the fishermen will not get their fishes, and as a result of which there will be a serious impact on the economy of that place. Secondly, the development of city, development of town, and because of this construction, there will be habitat loss. Thirdly, there will be removal of vegetation. Obviously, any developmental work will lead to removal of natural forest. Dredging is an important process because by dredging, we actually increase the depth of a particular water body or river. But as a result of which, the organisms remaining there, they perish. Sometimes uncontrolled access to resources. We are greedy people. We will try to get more resources, more productivity, as a result of which there will be biodiversity loss. So in the process, we become poorer and poorer day by day. The bottom trawling is another important issue because in order to increase the particular catch of fish, they will try to get hold of the entire water body. So all the surface feeder, the column feeder and the bottom feeder, all of these fishes will be destroyed. The entire food chain will be totally devastated. So in the process, because of our greed, we will destroy the aquatic life. Then comes this particular sediment suspension. Now, because of this dredging or because of other developmental activity, the concentration of sediment increases, and this sediment may include toxic pollutant, which is also equally threatening for the aquatic lives. And above everything, there are large number of impoundments, that is creation of dams and barrages, which may be across the border of two states, across the border of two countries. So we are not allowing the normal flow of water from one country to the other, as a result of which the aquatic life is also getting endangered. Not only human is suffering, but the aquatic biodiversity is under serious threat. Development is a very important phenomenon. Development of road, railways, but when it is occurring within a forest, this will lead to fragmentation of the habitat of wild animals. And when they actually try to cross the road, very often they are killed. They are killed by passing train or vehicles. So this is dangerous. Fragmentation is a general problem not only in India but all over the world. So habitat degradation is the term, and it vastly increases the vulnerability to natural disasters like flood, like drought, like crop failure, etc. You can see the entire area is getting totally devastated. No crop plants can grow because they are nutrient poor, they are having very little water. At the same time, the loss of trees from the tropical rainforest, they represent the gradual diminishing of Earth's ability to produce oxygen, and as a result of which carbon dioxide use also comes down. So there will be global warming. Carbon dioxide global warming ratio or global warming potential is 1. What does it mean? It means that more carbon dioxide if we generate, the globe will become more hot, and as a result of which it will no longer sustain life. So the main causes of habitat loss are agriculture, because in agriculture we produce food plant, but this agricultural land is because of the transformation of the forest. The land conversion for development, this conversion of land that actually is taking place for the development of road, railway, offices, township, they are all at the expense of forested land. Water development, in the name of water development, we create dams, diversion, as a result of which the normal flow is not there. And when we create that in vulnerable areas like in India in the Himalayas, that will create serious problem in terms of landslide, in terms of earthquake, in terms of natural devastation. And of course, as I have already told, pollution is a major problem. Pollutants in the form of untreated sewage, waste from industry, acid rain, fertilizer, pesticide, they are all causing non-point or point pollution, and they are polluting the rivers, waters and wetlands. So this particular results in climate change, and this climate change actually will be more intensely felt in the present day when the globe is becoming more hot, and in the process we try to use air conditioner, by the process we generate carbon dioxide, making the worst temperature in our surrounding. So now we come to the next phenomenon, which is habitat encroachment. And habitat encroachment means we are getting into the arena of animals. The natural forested areas, they are being encroached by human, or they are being encroached by other species. This will lead to destruction of habitat. This will lead to change of the habitat, causing death of plants, animals, fishes and other living organisms. And at the same time, as I have already told, that human greed will result in hunting, mining, agriculture and killing more animals, causing migration and change in the migration pattern. So, what are the different causes of human encroachment? They include livelihood. For the livelihood, people go into forest for collection of wood, for collection of honey or forest-based product. So this is a very important issue. Animal husbandry, modification of forest to meadow for growing cattle. There will be land-related dispute when forest is transformed to habitable land. There will be transformation of wetland to habitable land again. And you know wetlands are kidney of the world, so they are getting destroyed. Drying of river bed over a period of time, that will lead to climate change. Like they are saying that the Gangotri is gradually getting melted, and this will be resulting in less water flowing into the Ganges. So what will happen to this great Gangetic plain? The unauthorized trading of sand from the river bed, and this will lead to change in the course of the river and natural calamity. Unauthorized construction in very vulnerable areas like in the Sundarbans in West Bengal, resulting in change in the ecological balance, but they all occur in the name of ecotourism, which is not true ecotourism but pseudo-ecotourism. Mining and other developmental projects, and of course people displaced due to construction of highways, and this will include even animals. So we can see here in India, in the western part or southwestern part in the district of Karnataka, the district Shimoga, or in the state of Karnataka, the districts of Shimoga, Uttar Kannada, they are all getting encroached by people because the population pressure is there, so they are moving in. And this problem has started since 1950s, and it has gradually getting worsened and worsened in the 2015 or 2020. And the number of these disputed cases of encroachment is also increasing. This dispute in terms of individual numbers can go up to 1,500 to 3,000 within the state of Karnataka. So we can see that the driver is land use, change in climate and cyclonic weather, and there is pressure on population, there is pressure on the natural habitat, as a result of which there will be destruction of forest. And this impact will result in change in the species pattern, change in the flora and fauna. So even the fauna migration will take place. In the process, there will be more interaction between the wild fauna and human. So the factors influencing encroachment, we can see there will be, already I have stated, the political pressure, unemployment, river erosion, all these. And there will be huge amount of forest trade, patronage of local government, and also wider socio-economic context. All these problems culminating to the destruction of natural habitat of animals. So where they will go? You see, forest animals won't come to us until and unless their own habitat is getting destroyed. So we are getting closer to them. And in the process, we are getting exposed to new microorganisms which are there in the body of wild animals. So there will be widespread diseases, health issues coming up, which the WHO is also predicting. And there should be some laws to prevent that, and some people to enforce these laws. There should be international treaty to maintain this ecosystem, this forested area, because some forests may be across the border of two countries. We understand this era is Anthropocene era. We have to domesticate animals, but not at the cost of wildlife, not at the cost of their environment. And most importantly, this gut microbiome which is there in the wild animal, the gut microbiome which is there in us, they are getting intermingled. And this gut microbiome change will cause diseases to which we don't have any suitable answer. So it's time for the quiz 1. The percentage of human encroachment during the 50s in India was in the state of A. Karnataka, B. Andhra Pradesh, C. Maharashtra, D. Kerala. And the right option is Karnataka, that is option A. Now we come to more impacts of encroachment on public health. As I have already told, that the wild and the domesticated microbiome of these animals getting mixed, and there will be a negative impact on human. Like say for example the spiny rat, the Prochimys species inhabiting in human disturbed fragmented landscape will come up, resulting in the change of their alpha diversity and dispersed beta diversity. That is, their species concentration impact on other species will change. The greater variation in community structure will be there in this Anthropocene era. So we have seen that there will be more such zoonotic diseases. And now the time has come to discuss some of these zoonotic diseases. Like say for example, there will be more frequent fungal infection of amphibia. And many of these fungi are not actually normal species residing in amphibia. Like the Rana sylvatica, they are getting invaded by different fungal species of Ascomycetes or Basidiomycetes all over the world, resulting in their death and resulting in the distortion of the habitat or distortion of the food chain. The wild snail, that is Lysachatina fulica, they carry a lung, or we call it rat lungworm. And this rat lungworm or Angiostrongylus, they can come to human because of the encroachment of human into these wild territories, as a result of which there will be a serious disease of meningitis. This is a very common disease all over America. Now we come to the Lyme disease, which is a major problem in the New World countries. The Borrelia burgdorferi is a bacteria which normally invade the ticks of the deer. But when human goes to the jungle, these ticks are also biting the human, and humans suffer from this Lyme disease. which can be fatal at times. The disease of rabies is a long-drawn problem. We often know that this disease comes from dog bite, but actually the originator for this particular disease, the original carrier is bat. So it remained in bat, but then it started spreading in dogs and foxes and wild dogs, and then it comes to the urban dogs, domesticated dogs, and it spreads to human. Thank God that there is a vaccine and we can save our lives with this vaccine. But this also is a zoonotic disease from bat. The blastomycosis is a fungal disease, and this particular fungi actually remain in the woods, in the forest. And from this forest it comes to the air and it goes into the lung, it goes into the respiratory tract and can cause dreadful disease in human, and it can be fatal at times because there is no proper treatment. The psittacosis is actually caused by a particular organism called this parrot fever virus, but it is actually a chlamydia and not a virus. It is called chlamydia psittaci. It is also called chlamydiasis, and it can cause mild problem like dry cough, headache in human, but in severe cases it can cause encephalitis, conjunctivitis, even it can cause arthritis, hepatitis, and multi-organ failure and death. We come to a very important disease originating in Africa, and that is caused by Ebola. Ebola virus actually is having two specific cycles. We call it enzootic cycle and the epizootic cycle. Enzootic cycle is remaining within the bat, but epizootic cycle, this virus is spreading into deer, into chimpanzee, and finally into human because of the encroachment. And we don't have any proper treatment of this. Very recently some antivirals have come up, and of course this particular Ebola virus can be classified on the basis of their location, that is Reston, Sudan, Typhores, Zaire, and of course the Bundi Bagyo. This Ebola virus can invade animals like chimpanzee, forest antelope, gorilla, monkey, porcupine, and of course human coming in contact to infected animal. And they will be transmitted through tissue fluid, blood, breast milk, saliva, semen, sweat, urine, and even vomit. And there will be symptoms, moderate to very severe symptoms like diarrhea, fever, headache, and then unexplained bleeding, vomiting, and that can cause death. The prevention, of course, is to prevent contact with the persons who are infected. And of course, we should be very careful in the transmission of blood, very careful in the hospitals, and of course, we should avoid contacts with these wild animals and eating the meat of these wild animals who are infected with Ebola virus. Particularly, the caregivers must be very careful in terms of using disposable equipment, washing the hand, wearing gloves. By this time, we all know the importance of this. Isolation of the people suffering from Ebola, and of course, sterilizing all the equipments which are being used. In general, people used to die from Ebola. But very recently, there has been a new medication in the form of Inmazeb. And what is Inmazeb? It is a antibody cocktail which include the atoltevimab, maptivimab, and odesivimab. So definitely there is some sign of hope, but of course we should prevent this disease because prevention is better than cure. Now it's time for the quiz 2. Lyme disease is caused by A. virus, B. bacteria, C. ticks, and D. lungworm. And the correct option is bacteria, that is option B. Now we come to the dreadful disease of COVID-19, which devastated the world since 2020 or 2019 December. COVID-19 actually is caused by a group of viruses called coronavirus, and there are different strains like alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and they can cause acute severe respiratory syndrome. There is a type which are close, that is called SARS-CoV. Then there will be closely placed human influenza viruses that occurred in the world in 2009. There will be the Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus, which causes acute lung injury, and it is called MERS-CoV. And of course, there will be ARDS, or acute respiratory distress syndrome, which resulted in pulmonary failure. But these are all past. The development of COVID-19 was first reported in China, but just an organism before COVID-19 was SARS-CoV in 2003. And actually, this particular outbreak occurred in 26 different countries, and there were 8,098 people dying. Mortality rate was 9%. And this particular coronavirus in 2019 invaded 690,141,578 individuals. And the total number of deaths are more than 68 lakhs, which may be more. The mortality rate was much less, 0.9%. But because it was spreading like wildfire across 231 countries, it will result in more death all over the world. Of course, since May 23, the number has been reduced significantly. So here also, this particular COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2 originated in bat, as it was reported in China. Then it was coming to the wild animals, and these wild animals were sold in the fish market or animal market in China, and it spread to human. So there are birds, pigs, hen, cats, dogs, all were invaded, and also other wild animals, and they gradually enter into man. And then the WHO declared in January 2020 that this particular disease can cause epidemic because it is spreading from human to human in the form of droplets from the mouth discharge, as a result of which the mobility of the virus increases. And because the world has become small because of the movement of people from one continent to other, it was spreading in different countries, as a result of which there was severe complication, multi-organ failure, and people dying. So this is this particular COVID-19 virus having the nucleocapsid protein, having the enveloped glycoprotein, and there is of course the RNA inside, and there is this spike protein S, which is the root of all trouble because this protein is getting modified and the virus gets mutated, as a result of which it spreads in different forms. And of course, there are lipid bilayer. But why it is dangerous? Because this particular spike protein keeps on changing, and it binds with angiotensin converting enzyme receptor, ACE2 receptor, which is so common in the human lung, as a result of which it was binding to a great extent. Okay, if it is in the upper respiratory tract, it is less harmful, but when it goes to the lung, it goes to other organ, it is causing death. As a result of which this multi-organ failure is dangerous. And there are different forms of this M protein and N protein which will add to the dreadful virus dynamism. As a result of which there will be severe complication in terms of fever, in terms of loss of taste, in terms of chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, in terms of diabetes, in terms of cardiovascular disease. As a result of which the person can get into septic shock or septicemia and can die. We can very well understand a virus which we cannot see, but it originated from China and it actually spread all over the world and caused havoc in terms of loss of life in this world. So in 2021 March, the WHO China technical report stated that it was a zoonotic spillover from some animal market. A team of international experts announced that they have seen this particular Hunan market in China was responsible for the spreading of the disease. But the GISAID, that is the Global Initiative on Sharing All Influenza Data, was somewhat removed. So, whether it was from animal market or whether it was an accidental spillage or it was a deliberate display of the virus, nobody knows. But these three possibilities might be there, but ultimately it resulted in loss of life. People died, and we understood to a particular organism which cannot be seen in the naked eye is doing havoc, and this is only because of the increasing greed and encroachment to the wild or eating of wild animals along with their microbiome, causing this death and complication. And COVID-19 is not over totally, because COVID-19 is under control, and because of its rapid change in the structural form, mutation, the vaccines developed at the initial stage are of no specific usage now. So, I have already told you, it is spreading from human to human through mouth discharge, and it is treated with repurposed drug or convalescent plasma, which was stopped later on, immunoglobulin cocktail and stem cells. But of course, the vaccines which came up saved many lives, and that include protein subunit vaccine, inactivated viral vaccine, adenoviral vaccine, that is normally sold in India, that is the anti-COVID vaccine or Covishield. And this particular DNA, RNA or plasmid is entered into the adenovirus and made into a particular vaccine. So it's time for the quiz 3. The origin of the COVID-19 was in A, Italy, B, USA, C, China, D, India, and the right option is option C, that is China. So in this particular deliberation, what I wanted to impress upon was that the global population is increasing. It has crossed 8 billion, and it is increasing at an annual rate of 0.9%, resulted in massive urbanization, spreading of people, and there is no place within the town, so they are getting into forested area, which is encroachment. As they get into the forested area, they are meeting across those particular animals. The animals are coming closer to human. Along with that, these animal viruses, bacteria, they are also coming to human, to which we don't have any other knowledge or exposure. And this particular unknown microbiome is mixing with our own microbiome and creating havoc, killing people, resulting in pandemic. Mind you, COVID-19 started as a regional infection, then became epidemic, then became pandemic all over the world. And it also discussed the different causes and outcome of this habitat destruction, encroachment, and the different forms of zoonotic diseases, their origin, dissemination, and control. Thank you.